The Rutgers certificate program in gifted education was really designed with an eye to preparing teachers and other educators, including administrators, counselors, psychologists, for working effectively with gifted and talented populations. It's designed around the new teacher education standards in gifted education that have been in place since 2008. And it is intended to provide people with a strong background in the foundations of the field, as well as an understanding of the characteristics and needs of the population, both in respect to cognitive needs as well as affective needs, to give them some appreciation for the underlying principles of guidance for working with these students, to emphasize the kinds of strategies and skills that teachers need to have in order to address their needs effectively in the classroom, to introduce them to program models that are effective with gifted and talented populations, and to give them the skills to design those programs themselves, as well as ultimately to evaluate their effectiveness and collect assessment data on how they work with gifted and talented students in their context. These kinds of programs, which are available nationally through selected numbers of universities, are really calibrated to be sure that there is a 12-hour preparation program, 12-semester-hour preparation program, that allows people to become deeply trained and therefore have enough knowledge to be effective with these populations in different kinds of settings around the country. And of course, in respect to New Jersey, it's very important. You have a wonderful group of very bright students in New Jersey. You have a group of very bright teachers in New Jersey. So it's attempting to see how to create those optimal matches for getting the strongest educational programs that are possible for your very best students, and to have a cadre of people very sensitive to their needs and capable of delivering effectively in terms of those needs. So that's sort of speaking to the issue of, the purpose of the program and who it's intended for, and maybe a little bit about the nature of the content. When I think about the benefits, though, I think about the benefits of the program as extending well beyond any identified gifted and talented population. Many of the strategies, the skills, the emphases that we take in this field are ones that are useful for use with all students. My first career, if you will, was as a classroom high school English and Latin teacher, working with honors students, but also working with basic students. And one of the first principles I understood about gifted was that if it worked with gifted students, you could modify it, extend it, and use it with other students as well. Because a lot of what was motivating to gifted students can motivate everybody. Use of open-ended activities, opportunities for choices, an emphasis on concepts rather than facts. All of those things are really powerful learning tools for everyone. And those are the bread and butter of what we teach in gifted and talented education. So those, I think, are some very real benefits that accrue not just for a narrow population, but rather for a much larger student population that these teachers then will be working effectively with. Too often, school districts really are judged in terms of their quality by what they do for their very best students. So the higher the quality of instruction for your top learners, the better your overall district is likely to be. The more there is likely to be what we call a filter-down effect. In the history of this field, for example, when computers first started being used in schools, they were used in gifted programs. And then, of course, that became a widespread phenomenon, at a broader base. The same thing was true with moral education. We started out with trying curricula and moral education with gifted students, finding it successful, and then using it with a much broader band. So for a very long time, this field has been about innovation, and it's been about trying to put in place on a somewhat experimental basis with our best students what we thought were really powerful curriculum trends, and then learning from that how we could translate it for the betterment of everyone.